Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to a new video in the Tibet script. I know you're all missing me, don't try and hide it, but this is how it's been recently. Get busy, get some time, so I'm trying my best to not delay so much on the lessons. Anyway, I'm here, and for today we are going to learn the harakat for the Thuluth script. Since we've finished most of the letters, or all of them, we've got a few lessons to go before we do the practice. The first haraka we are going to have a look at is the Fatha and Kasra. So for Fatha and Kasra, just as a guide, put a 2-point scale over here. And the length depends, like for example, you would hold the pen with this angle, with a nice inclination, and you would go down to touch this line. You don't have to curve or anything. You could curve slightly downward, but this is how it looks like. Now, some people might say, but what if I did it this sharp angle or just made it flat? Well, it's more of this angle, and if you want to scale it, now this is just a rough estimation. Yeah, take it 6 by 6, and this way you get a nice shape to it. Now the pen, you would use either the same thickness you are using for the writing or third the thickness. So for example, if I wrote with this pen, I would look for something that is third, and this third, I wonder if this is going to be third. 1, 2, 3, this is almost third. So you would use certain harakat with the third size, and certain harakat you would use the full size of the pen. This one, in general, it's the third size. Now this works as a fatha and as a kasra, and it comes short, because if you use third the size, this will be really short. It would just basically be up to here, as we can see. And this makes sense because this width, as you can see, is typically, if you had a waw, for example, which would be a 2-point letter, just like this, your fatha will basically sit on top of the waw. Because, for example, you see this is almost a third of the pen, and you can see that it looks neat, despite you might thinking, well, third is kind of small. No, it's not. And if you continue to turn to waqaf, the same thing goes if you used it for a kasra. You see, it's nice, it's neat. So you would use third pen, third the size. The other shape is just for the fatha, and that would be longer than this one. And for that one, you would move downward just with the same angle that we just saw. At the end here, you will have a nice change of shape, and you will turn it around and come back with almost a 1-point width. So this would cover, for example, the whole shape. It would fill in a massive gap in the script, because in some cases you will have a lam connected to a letter, connected to a lam, for example, al-ali. So you have a lam connected to a ayn, connected to a lam, then a ya. And you want to fill this gap with something because it will show empty. So having a small one would look like this. Meanwhile, if you had space for this one, you would just balance the letter, the word, al-ali, and you could add some decorations here that we're going to talk about later. So what size to choose based upon the script you have. This one fills more space. You would use the full thickness for this one. This one is for the kasra and areas where you can't fit a full size fatha above the letters. Now, fatha and kasra also have a tanween in them, and tanween is the two parallel fathat or kasrat. And for that one, it's easy. We use the same one as this one, and we simply go down, and we add another one just below it with third thickness in between. It's kind of tight, so yeah, third thickness would be almost here. So do it again. You start with one, then you do the other. You have a nice balance between these two to be parallel. And this is the first one. The second one would be the Tanween Kasr. For that one, it will be shorter. You could also use it for the Fath if you didn't have space. It's rare to see these Tanweens kind of big with a full size, because it is a big letter and it actually always comes at the end of words, so you're rarely going to see Tanween in the middle of the word, so use the third thickness of the pen for these ones. Now, the interesting move next, which is something I personally love about calligraphy, is the Dhamm. I just love the shape of the Dhamm. The Dhamm is the oo sound. And for that one, what you're going to do is do 3 moves. You're going to do one, which is going up to the left. Now here, it looks straight, but it is actually going slightly curvy. See the slight curvature on both sides. So this is 1. 2, you will have to go back this way. Make a cap for it, just like this. And it is kind of flat. 3 would be going down with the same angle you hold the pen with, and you're gonna move it slightly to the left to add thickness to it, then rotate the pen to close the move. So you see the thickness here? You move with the pen, and you're moving to the left, it adds more thickness to it, then you rotate the pen and it comes back to its origin. Take your time practicing it, but yeah, you need it to be thin, thick, thin. And it has to be pointing downward, basically. It looks as if it was standing on its toes, on 2 points here. So this is the Dhamm. Dhamm Tanween has several shapes, and here you have one, which is basically copying that shape in twice. One over here, and the next one would come just following it. Oof. Sitting slightly on the same level. Come on. This pen is the best pen ever. Off camera, it works perfectly. The moment I start recording, it just decides to play. So yeah, this is the first Dhamma shape. The second one would be built in, which is going up to the left. 1, 2. You continue with 3. You stop here. Then you're going to come back with a move that looks like the Diwani Dal. You're going to start from here. You see how this ends here. Go back this way. Stop here. Go up left, just like this. And do a similar move to the head down here. Close it on this and close both moves on each other. So this is 2 Dhammats together. The following one is also a connected one, and you're gonna use the same shape. Go down, stop it here, and you're gonna hold the pen here where it changes the curve. Start from here, go down, turn around, make some sort of a ring around the head of it. So yeah. Any of these work. In the Quran, because it's written in Naskh, you will find that depending on the tajweed, Dhammat would either be this one. if there was no idgham or anything, or there's ikhfa or idgham. And this one would be used if there was idgham, to give you a hint on how to recite it according to the tajweed rules. So, fatha kasra over here, fatha kasra tanween, dhamma or dham tanween. There are other shapes for the dham tanween. Kind of forgot how they look like, but yeah, there are the shapes. But I thought of just giving you these three. Next, we're going to look at the sukoon. And for the sukoon, with regards to the dhamma, again, it's either the full size or third the size, but the tanween usually is third because you don't have space. The next one would be the sukoon, and for this one, we have this one. You go down to the right, just like a dal in ruqa', go down and you come back and you stop up there. So you're gonna go down with this move, 1. 2 is a move downward with a sharp curve. The third one is just a straight line to close it. And again, this is kind of not going back, neither standing up, it's in between. It's a lovely shape. There's also another sukoon which is always the full thickness. You go up and down just like a head in Farsi script. Then you come back with third the pen down, left, and you close it. So down here you have this banana shape that we talked about in other scripts, and the top shape would be the ha from the Farsi. In some cases this is used for sukoon where, how can I say it? Where there's a silent letter, not because, for example, the alif and lam, this alif would have the sukoon just to show that it's silent, or the circle, just to show that because alif at the beginning can't be silent, but this is just to show that it is hamzat wasl. Again, you could also have sila, which we will look at later. Next, we're going to have a look at the shad. The shad is a move like this. You go curve and curve. Then you're going to curve back, just like a lam. Just like this. You see the curvature and the curvature. Then you're going to come back with a line down to here. And the second curve would be thicker than the first one. Or wider, sorry about that. The width here would be bigger. And you're going to come back this way and you close it like this. And this way you have a shad. Again, in some cases you will see it looking more of a quick shape like this. Just a quick close it. Shad again depends on the letter that comes to it. If it was a fatha, it will come above it. If it was a kasra, it will come below it. Try and balance these harakat together. Because if you added a small shad with, like, for example, a third of a pen, and then you added a full massive shad, massive fatha like this, yeah, it might not look nice. Next, we're going to have a look at mad, and mad is basically, for example, ar-Rahman. Between the meme and the noon, you have an alif sound, but in the in certain scripts, or certain, what do you call them, methods, I would say, I don't know the translation for the word, you don't write the alif. You basically, ar-Rahman is one of the words that you don't write the alif for. It'll be ha, mim, nun. So for similar words like that one, or when you have an alif maqsoora, you would use something called mad, and that has several shapes. One of them would be going back with the third of the thickness, just like this. A nice curved move, but slightly curved. I'm exaggerating here to show you that it is a curve. then you would come back with a, you've seen this move before because it's a combination between the kaf and coming back like this is a kaf head, and you're going to come back with a ba shape. So this is used in the scene, and this is exactly what you're going to do. You are over here, you're going to come back with a kaf shape and turn it into a scene and stop here. And you're going to add the second move of the scene and you just stop here. So this is a ah sound. You add a number 1 on top of it, and this would be your mid shape. The other mid shape would be similar to that one. You go back, stop here, curve around, come back, but this time you're going to go all the way up to here, and then you're going to return with a nice hat shape. Up. The hat shape would be like this, thin. Okay, both of them you could see them. They come big and nice in the middle of the word because usually it's the alif. It works with the madya too. Next we're gonna have a look at sila, which comes over the hamzat al-wasl. I forgot these what were they called. We studied them when we were back in school. Anyway, for that one you're going to use a sad that looks like this. Come back and give it a nice nudge upward. Then you come back and you give it a ha. And this never comes with a full thickness because it has to fit above the alif. So for example, if you had an alif this size, you can't put all of this up here. It will have to be the third size and it will fit nicely. Again, you have to, how can I say it, balance the distance, because each letter has a zone of influence. If this shifted to the right, it would confuse the reader. If it shifted to the left, it will also confuse them. So when you do the harakat and the thuluth, your script would be kind of stuck to itself. Let's write quickly. وَمَا الْبُطُولَاتِ. وَمَا الْبُطُولَاتِ, you will have a waw, a meme, let's choose this meme, an alif, a lam, a ba, ta, waw, lam, alif, and ta. So you can see here that there are two areas of nice filled scripts, these three and the lam, alif and the ta, and the other ones are kind of empty. So this one, for example, it takes this space and you would put a small fatha for it. The meme, on the other hand, can take a bigger fatha to balance this zone, because you have this area filled around with the waw, but above this fatha and between the fatha and the alif there is an empty space. You can add a big fatha. Above the alif, sila, hamzat wasl, al-butulat. Here you have a dhamm that will go down like this, another dhamm. So you fill this area. Al-butu, this is sakin, you could add the sukoon that we talked about. Fatha here, you have to add a small one. You can't add the big one because it will touch both sides. Al-butulatu, dhamm will come over here. For example, you will see that the area of putting the haraka depends on the location of, depends on the width of the letter. So here, it's a dhamm, it has to be close and above the letter in a way that it's balanced. You will know that this is for this. The dhamma for the ta marbuta here, the next word would be وَمَا الْبُطُولَاتُ إِعْجَازٌ. You will have an alif with a nice kasra. So here you will have a gap. It would be a good place here Again, you would add some decorations here to fill in the gap, but that's it. You don't put the Dhamma, for example, here, because this will push the alif and you'll end up with a big gap between the words. But this we'll look into later. I just wanted to mention this to know that looking at these harakat, I'm doing them in a big size, but when you write, they will genuinely or generally be a third the size of the pen. Next, speaking of the hamzat, hamzat al-qata' or al-hamza in general, it will be this shape. Looks like a ayn head. You start with this move, go up and back, then break it down to here and connect it to this shape. Nice and easy, simple, looks lovely. This either comes above the alif or below the alif, or on nabirat. Now, these are the general harakat. We have some decorative moves. For those ones, we're going to start with the leaf, and that would be a move where you are going down and around, just like this. So you go down, turn around and come back. Looks nice and neat. Another one would be more of this shape, just like the dhamm. This usually comes up in the top area. This comes everywhere to balance the negative space. We have the mizan, and for that one we have the first move, which is going back up, 1. 2 would be going down, just like this. 3 would be curving around and coming back up. 4 would be doing this shape. Now you'll find that this is angled, and you will find that this is pointing down to the left. And focus on the shapes, the thicknesses. So number 1 is going back to the left, up left. The next move is a number 1 in Arabic. This shape comes really thin. Number 3 starts with a nice curve, just like this, because you want it to extrude off the second move and come back just like this. If you did it straight ahead, you will end up with a really sharp edge, but you want it to be curved like this. And number 3, some people exaggerate and make it with a nice thickness, but keep it simple as this one. And finally, number 4 would be coming back. 3 and 4 could join more smoothly by going slow on the curve. This curve is smoother than this one. And this is a mizan. Now, some shapes will also include adding a tail here to this side or a tail to this side, depending on the area that you have. Another mizan would be the letter mim with this shape on top of it. You go down, back, and thin, and you add a mizan that will sit over here. Sorry, harak. This should be slightly to the right. You will find that this comes really handy when you end up with a massive area that you can't really fill with harakat or letters. The letters should be designed to fill all the gaps, but in certain cases it's really hard to do it. Next we're going to do another sukoon shape, which is this one. And in some cases, when you have letters that might be confused, usually they are the sin, sad, dad, ta, ain, and ha. Those letters, you have some symbols to put close to them. The sin, you would use a nasikh sin combined with a nice ending from the Farsi, just like this. So again, for this one, you're going to start with 1, 2, pointing upward. One is like a small move down. This will be with an angle shorter than the first move. You're going to do a curve, easy. Then you're going to curve back and you're going to go down. Just like this. A sod will also have a sod shape. You know how to do this one. You curve down, up, and you add a nice, what do you call it, tail to it. You've got the ta, which is again a sharp shape, back, and rotate to close it, and the shape here would be similar to the dom by doing this shape. It will touch too. Yeah, it'll touch over here. Ain, which is going back, down, and finishing. It's kind of a combination between the naskh, the ruqa, and the farsi. Finally, the ha, which is literally a farsi connected to a ruqa. So, for example, if you had a scene, you would add the scene. If you had space to fill around it, sad, ta, ain, and ha. You'll find yourself using the ha and the ain most of the time, especially if you did tarakib. Scene is quite beneficial when you have the big long one to show that it's a scene. Anyway, this is for today's lesson. I did not expect it to go this long, but the harakat are important, and the muazzin and the decorations are also important. This is for today's lesson. In the next lesson, we're gonna do Lafz al-Jalal Allah and the Prophet's name Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and hopefully a couple of more lessons we'll do some examples and some practice stuff, and we will be done with this script. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about Arabic calligraphy, and stay safe out there. Have a lovely day, evening or night, and catch you in the next lesson. Goodbye.